What's good, everybody? This is a special edition of Solo TV 84. I'm your host, Solomon Jones, and I got a special guest here today, business owner guru Ian from Pure Hustle. Ian, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, bro. How about you?
I'm doing good. We out here marinating in Denver, and I'm glad you decided to stop by real quick at Solo TV 84, man.
For sure.
Now, tell us about yourself. Who are you? How did you become a business guy?
Oh man, I have to take you guys way back, alright?
Okay.
So, my name is Ian, aka the Made Man, also known as Superman back in the day.
Yeah.
Right, so I just launched this new website called Diary of a Made Man.
Okay.
Right, so you're probably wondering what's the purpose behind Diary of a Made Man.
Right.
So basically, I'm under 30 years old.
Right.
I've been making six figures the last 3 years. Last year I made over 200 grand. I have 2 books I'm publishing, right? One's already published, the other is in the works.
What's the name of the one that's published?
It's called the Complete Freelancer Guide.
Okay.
All right, that's the first book. The second book coming up is called Hacking the System, right? This kind of is aligned with Diary of a Made Man, where I teach people how to hack the system and make 6 figures and live the lifestyle they want to live, right?
Right.
I'm trying to basically put people on, put the whole team on.
Right.
So that's why I launched Diary of a Made Man. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a hustler, a businessman. I have over five businesses, right? From a battery company where I import batteries from China and sell them online,
Right.
to make money. I have a real estate company where I do Airbnb and short-term rentals.
Right.
I have a video production company, right? I have a tech startup, an app in the Apple App Store. So I have all these different hustles I'm doing,
Right.
But people don't really understand why I'm doing all these hustles, right? So Diary of a Made Man is basically a platform where I bring people into the kitchen.
Okay.
Right? I'm basically bringing everybody into the kitchen, showing them how everything is made, right?
Right.
How that six-figure lifestyle is being made.
Okay. Now, I mean, you said you're under 30 years old. How did you get to this point where you decided, hey, I'm gonna make money, I wanna be successful? How did you get to that point? Have you always been this way, or was it like something that...
I would say, yeah. So pretty much when I was a kid, I basically discovered I was a hustler from day one.
Right.
I have to go back to 4th grade. Right. In the 4th grade, I kind of figured out I had this knack or this gift for finding out systems,
Right.
and finding out how to hack them. Right? Like how to find a cheat code, right?
Right.
So I was able to hack different systems. I recall back in 4th grade, we had this whole thing where every time the teacher would ask a question and you answered the question, right, by raising your hand, he would basically give you fake money, right? Monopoly money, right? Then during the end of the quarter, we had this huge auction, and you basically use up all that money that you earned, right?
Right.
To buy different items, right? We had toys, gifts, candy, whatever, right? Stuff that 4th graders love.
Right.
Right, but I kind of figured out this hustle, right? Because there was this fat kid next to me, right? And every single day, this fat kid would ask me to have my lunch, right? Then I was like, hey, you know what? What if you give me your Monopoly money and I give you my lunch, right?
Right.
So every single day, I was stacking up paper, right?
Right.
Like on the low, right?
Right.
Then when the auction came, right? I basically
You had a
dominated
bag.
everything.
Yeah.
But pretty much it was me and the fat kid bought up 80% of the stuff, right? But I was pretty surprised because I'm like, I took all this fat kid's money.
Right.
How come he was able to keep up with me during the auction, right? That's when I also learned the first rule of the game, right?
Right.
There's always somebody else who's playing something more advanced. So it turns out the fat kid was actually photocopying the money. So he's basically photocopying the money, right? And giving me fake money. But he was smart too, right? Because he also learned, right?
Right.
That the teacher was photocopying the same money as well.
Okay.
Right? So he basically figured out the rules of the game, right?
Right.
Hacked it. Right? I mean, so there were basically 2 people in the game, right? I was the first player hacking the game this way, and he was the second player hacking the game this other way.
Right.
And we both came up, right?
Right.
But they're totally 2 different angles. Right?
But he came up on you.
Yeah, he came up on me, I came up on him, right?
Wow. Okay.
Ever since then, so it came to a point where the teacher had to basically outlaw like our hustle. Right? He was like, nobody can trade money or do anything with money like that, right?
Right.
So they basically made rules just for us, based on what we were doing. And ever since then, I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty good at this stuff, right?
So you guys must have been abusing the system, clearly. I
Oh,
mean.
for sure.
Now, how did you go from a kid hustling fake monopoly money to basically where you're at now, owning 5 different businesses or 5 different streams of incomes?
I always just wanted to come up, man. So right away at a young age, I had a love for technology, video games. I wanted to make my own video games, so I learned programming, became very tech savvy. I had to kind of develop that hacker mentality, right? From taking stuff apart, building computers, breaking them apart, coding, making my own software and games, right? And I also looked up to other entrepreneurs, other tech titans like Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Jeff Bezos, all these different guys out there, right? There are guys that I idolized and looked up to, so I studied them. Right? I figured out how they came up, what path they took, and decided to follow that same path, right? So based off of that, I went down the path of majoring in computer engineering for both undergrad and graduate school based on that, because they also they're competent with computers, right? So that was something I had to do as well, right? I also read lots and lots of books. I mean, I read books every single day, right? I average about a book a week.
What type of books do you read?
Non-fiction, business books.
Business books.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't read that many fiction books, man, because I'm not trying to live a fantasy. I'm trying to turn fantasy into reality.
Okay.
Right.
Of course. Okay.
So all the way since college, right? I just kind of would read books, then I'd go out there and do whatever those books would say, right? I'd test things out in the real world, doing businesses, taking action. So next thing you know, I kind of been taking action, and now where I am today is basically the culmination of all those different steps I took, right? All that action I've been taking.
Okay. All right. Now you explain a little bit what Diary of a Made Man is. I think that at Solo TV 84, we're a men's channel who focus on self-improvement for men. How they can get their business up, their fitness, their peace of mind, mentally, spiritually, all these different aspects. But primarily, too, want to focus on black men as well.
Let me have a drink here.
How the concept of a made man? How did you come about? What are the
Right.
What is a made man? Can you describe what a made man?
Right, so made man, most people when they think of made man, they think of the term from the mafia, right?
Right.
When somebody's made, he's officially part of the mafia.
Right.
Right. He's somebody they can trust.
Right.
Right. That's one definition of a made man.
Right.
But there's also the other definition of a made man, right? If you go in the dictionary, it says somebody's success that is assured.
Right.
Right. Your success is guaranteed. Like it's like, Mama, I made it. Right. Like that kind of made man. Right. You've accomplished your goals, and you're now at a point in life where it's like, you don't question anything in terms of your success because you've been there, right?
Right.
For example, let's say in sports, right? Once you become a champion, nobody can take that from you, no matter what, right? No matter how many haters come after you, right? You're still a champion. You take that to you. You basically take that till you die, right?
Right.
You take that to your grave.
Okay.
So I also get the concept of made man from Nietzsche, right? Who's my favorite philosopher, right?
Okay.
So Nietzsche is this German philosopher that basically came up with the concept Superman or Übermensch.
Right.
So the whole concept is
Especially Deutsch.
so the whole concept is you're basically striving and ascending, trying to become the Superman, right? You're trying to become better at your craft, at your skill, whatever you're going after, right? You're basically trying to find this nirvana. Right? So made man is basically a concept that's born from that as well, right? Because I feel like what my favorite quote from Nietzsche is, to live is to suffer.
Right.
To survive is to find meaning in the suffering,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So what exactly does that mean, right? It means that everybody suffers. Everybody has pain, right? But you don't really understand that pain, right? Until you survive and do something with it, right? Once you become a made man, then you understand why there's that pain in the process.
Right.
So let me kind of go deeper on that, right? So let's say making 6 figures is a goal for people, right? Right. So getting there, that process, it's a long process, right? Very hard, right? Lots of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. But once you get there, you realize why you had to sacrifice all those blood, sweat, and tears to get there.
Right.
Because the path is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
There would be no pain, right? The pain is there to show you that it's worth it, right? That's why it's so brutal.
Right.
Whether it's making six figures, whether it's doing anything else in life, right? Everybody has different suffering they have to go through. But to survive and come up, you have to find meaning in that suffering, meaning in the journey, meaning in the process.
Right.
Right? As Joel Embiid says, right? Trust the process.
Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Now, can you? I mean, obviously, you don't just go from 0 to 100. I mean, there's got to be
Maybe you
I mean, there's got to be bumps along the way. Can you tell us what was your first business? Did it fail? Did it succeed? Can you tell us?
Oh man, I've had so many businesses fail.
Okay. Okay.
So my first business was Fusion Media.
Okay.
Right. This was me making websites for people. I
Right.
began making websites for my uncle, then my family, friends, and some other people here and there. Right. This was just for me to kind of make some money on the side. Not that much money, right? I was a kid back then.
Right.
I began that I would say when I was in my teens, late teens, like after high school, college.
Okay.
Right. But it taught me a lot about making websites to a point now where I can make websites like that, right?
Okay.
So that was my first business. Then from there, I ended up doing Leximo, which is a startup I founded in college with my best friend at the time, Assad, aka Ace, right?
Ace,
So
okay.
that was a social multilingual dictionary. So kind of like Urban Dictionary for words, but it was more social. You would have videos, pictures with definitions, then you could thumb them up, right? Kind of in the same, right? So that way the best definition for each word in any language would be up there with multimedia embedded into it, right?
Okay.
So it was a cross between Wikipedia, Urban Dictionary, Instagram, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean that business didn't really take off.
No,
then?
so I mean, yeah, it's more like most businesses fail, right? So,
Mhm.
but the thing is, I've had lots of different ups and downs along the way, right? But every single time I learned something from that failure,
Right.
right? Which I then used to then start my next business. All right, so from there I've done multiple businesses. I've done a video production company, right? I began that as a freelancer, just as a way to kind of buy an expensive video camera, right? Then from there I wanted to make money on the side. Then it came to a point where I got more professional with it. Then it came to a point where I made more money in 1 month with that side hustle
Right.
than my day job,
Right.
right? So that was one way I went. And that same hustle, right? That video production company,
Right.
everything I did in that was stuff I learned from Fusion Media,
Right.
from Leximo, right? I was taking all those lessons learned and I brought them into my new business.
Okay. Now, being in your position, you know, just doing a business, do you think there were obstacles, particularly being a black man, that people were saying, hey, you can't do this, or, you know, you had haters or doubters
Yeah.
who said, nah, why are you trying to do this? You know, you shouldn't do this.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Like, especially when I was doing Leximo, just pitching to investors, right?
Right.
Because most investors don't look like me, right?
Right.
They're old, rich, white guys.
Right.
Right, so that was definitely something where, I mean, that's just reality, right?
Right.
So you just have to kind of overcome that. So I would just go out there, try to work extra hard, put in more effort, trying to break the stereotypes, right, of being black.
Right.
And that was basically it, right? And also, especially in school as well. Like I didn't have, I barely graduated, man. Like school was no cakewalk for me, especially graduate school. Right, I basically graduated by a thread, right? But I was able to make it, man, right?
Right.
And now I'm basically at a point where I'm making more money than all those kids that were smarter than me. Because even back then, right, I didn't really take school that seriously because I knew I didn't want to be an employee.
Right.
I felt like being in school was basically just a pathway or a gateway to being an employee. And I always knew I was an entrepreneur. Right. I always knew I wanted to be a founder of my own businesses, and school wasn't really the system for that.
Right.
Right.
Right. Now, my question to you is, in a situation like yourself, you know, where you basically came from nothing to be successful, because you weren't always where you at right now. Did your parents help you at all? I mean, were they influential?
Oh yeah.
You know, your mom and dad.
Yeah, African parents for sure, are definitely influential.
Right.
Right. From day one, right? Like they're very adamant about education, right?
But were they, like, in terms of your business aspirations, were they
Yeah.
supportive of that, or were they skeptical, or
Yeah,
how
yeah.
was their...
My parents have always been supportive of my business endeavors.
Right.
Right. They helped me out with the Fusion Media, right? Getting me my first clients.
Right.
Right. They basically would go to different family events and tell people about me, saying, "Hey, our kid is the best person at making websites. You have to have them make you your website, right?"
Right.
And they'll give me customers like that, right? They're basically my first evangelists.
Okay. All right. So your parents were kind of the field workers, you know,
Yeah.
putting in that work in the field for you. Okay. All right. Now, I mean, what is your biggest life hack? I mean, you talk about, you have a book coming out on hacks,
Yeah.
you know, hacking systems like you mentioned in the 4th grade. What is the biggest hack currently that you're working on?
Oh man,
Besides,
there are a whole bunch of hacks.
okay.
Some so good I can't even drop them on my channel, right? Because they're that good, right?
Okay, okay.
But right now, I would say, actually, so if you're a tech person, right,
Right.
and you have some skills, right,
Right.
when trying to find a job, don't get a job where you go work 9 to 5,
Right.
right? That's a bad job, especially if you want to have side businesses and side hustles, right?
Right.
So with me, my first job after graduate school was consulting at Deloitte.
Right.
And they were working me like a dog, man. Like I was going to the office at like 7:30, leaving at like 7:30 p.m. Right?
Right.
So I was there like 12 hours, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I can't do this. I was there for 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm out of here, man. There was no way I could do that,
Right.
right? And from talking to my friends, I discovered that if you went to sales, it was kind of different,
Right.
right? It's basically a job where you work from home,
Right.
right? Don't have a boss standing over your shoulder to telling you what to do.
Right.
You basically only travel when you have customer work, or client
Right.
work. So, but it was different from consulting in the sense that you may only have one customer meeting that week,
Right.
right? So I basically shifted from there, went to a job, right, where I was working at IBM in sales,
Right.
right? I was in tech sales. So I was basically a sales engineer, right? And I went from, on an average week, I was not working that much. I was working maybe like anywhere from 5 to 20 hours a week, right?
5 to 20 hours a week,
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah, at home, right?
Okay. Okay.
I mean, because sometimes it's like if there's no meeting, there's no meeting,
Right.
right? So some months I would have 1 or 2 customer meetings the entire month, right? Because I'm basically, as a sales engineer, I'm aligned to a sales rep, right? An account
Right.
executive, right? So the account executive is out there getting meetings.
Right.
But some months are slow, especially like the first month of the year, January, because it's a whole new year, right? So they're still trying to give us accounts. So
Right.
we basically have no idea what accounts we have, so we have no meetings the entire month.
Right.
So we're basically just at home doing nothing, just chilling, right? Then summertime as well, when all our customers are on vacation,
Right.
right? And also other employees are on vacation as well.
Right.
So there were some months where there were no meetings at all.
Wow.
So you're just at home, just trying to keep yourself busy, checking email, but you have all the time in the world to do lots of other things, right? So that was probably my best hack, giving me that perfect life balance, right?
Because it allowed you
Life
to.
balance. I would have other hustles on the
Okay.
side, right? Online hustles, right? Because I'm working from home, doing my own thing, with lots of time in the world. So that was definitely one of my big hacks. I would say try to get a job where you can make as much money as possible and not work as much as possible, right?
Right. Right.
The more money, the better. The less hours, the better as well, right? So if you can find a job where you make 6 figures only working 10 hours a week, that's the best job right there.
Now, some people are saying, well, sales, that's fine and dandy, but I'm not a salesman. I'm more socially awkward or something. Do you have any other jobs that you recommend in the field besides sales?
So one other life hack I did, right? This was after graduate school when I was working as an independent contractor,
Okay.
right? So I found this consulting job, right? I mean, this person posted a job, wanted a developer to code this app for them,
Right.
to basically fix their app, right? And
Right.
I was like, you know what, I can do that. I can handle that. So I signed up for it and went for the interview, and they gave me the job.
Right.
Then I was at home trying to work it. I'm like, I don't know any of this. I forgot, right? It was like 2 years back since I worked with this language.
Right.
Right, so, and they were paying me $5,000 too, right?
Right.
For this job. I'm like, what do I do with this?
Right.
Right, so I'm like, you know what? I had a friend I met back in college who would outsource stuff back to India, right, overseas,
Right.
and basically add his margins on it and make money that way.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me post this online and see if I can find somebody else to build this for me, right?
Right.
So I posted the job on a site back then. It was called elance.com, which is now Upwork, right?
Right.
And I found this guy from Russia, right? Russian hacker developer,
Okay.
right? And I had him build the entire thing, fix the entire app
Right.
over the course of 1 month.
Right.
And guess how much I paid him?
I would say you paid him 2,000.
Right. So the job was $5,000, right?
$5,000.
I
Okay.
paid this guy $300.
Wow.
Yeah, I paid him $300, right?
Okay.
Then I had the nerve, right? I had the nerve to go back to the company and tell them, because at first they're paying me like $5,000 or whatever, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want the $300 I'm paying the Russian guy to come out of my paycheck, but
Right.
they're paying me, right? So I basically billed them overtime. And I basically put on the guy, so they ended up paying me like $5,600 for the project, right?
Right.
And get the guy $300.
Right.
Kept over $5,000.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow.
So I was basically flipping a project. But the thing is, right, this hustle is more popular than you actually would expect, right? Lots of companies do this thing.
Right.
Especially large consulting firms like IBM, Deloitte, Accenture, all these companies.
Right.
They outsource jobs overseas nowadays,
Yeah.
but still bill American rates,
Right.
right? So I'm just kind of doing that on a smaller scale.
Wow. I think they might be mad that you're giving away this game, but we appreciate it here. You know, we certainly do appreciate it at Solo TV. Now, going into this business, I mean, let's talk more about the mindset. What type of mindset does somebody need to be successful in business? Because a lot of people are watching this, they're like, I can't relate to this. So what type of mindset do you need to even get started, in your opinion?
I would say there are two mindsets, right? The first one is action. You gotta take action.
Right.
Action is the name of the game, right? You can't hesitate on anything, right? So my philosophy in life is always try to do something once and get real world feedback.
Right.
So whenever I find something that's interesting, I jump straight into it, both feet first, right? I don't try to dip. I go straight in there, right? So for example, I read a article on how somebody was making money off of Airbnb.
Right.
Right? I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? Filed that away into my mental bank, right?
Right.
Then came a time when I got an apartment, right? I think it was probably like a month later. I went out there, got an apartment, put it on Airbnb.
Just like that.
Just like that. And the rest is history, right? Now it's come to a point where it's a good side hustle for me, right? I'm making money when I travel, right?
Right.
I'll go somewhere for work, have somebody staying in my Airbnb, and I'm making money like that.
Okay.
A different example is Amazon, right? Amazon FBA.
Right.
That's when you import stuff from Asia, put it on Amazon. I got that from same thing from an article, right? I saw an article online.
So this is just public information.
Public information, right?
Right.
It was a blog post, right?
Right.
Read the blog post. 2 days later, went on Alibaba, got stuff from China. A month later, I was selling on Amazon.
Right.
2 months later, I made $2,000. I'm like, okay, that's a nice hustle.
Right.
Now I've been doing that for 2 years. Right. This is just public information, right?
So this is not something that you
Yeah.
but this information is out there.
Anybody
You
can
just
go out there.
utilize it.
It's free information.
Right.
Right. But the thing is, people hesitate. They ponder. They mentally masturbate over this information, right? But you have to go out there and take action,
Right.
right? Because action is the name of the game.
Right.
Then the second other principle I like is to hack everything.
Right.
Right? Try to test everything from a totally different angle and find any loopholes, any cheat codes that you can use to come up off of that, right?
Right.
So, as a scientist, you're always testing different experiments, right? You test different ways, right? Not just one way, but multiple ways. So
Right.
Same thing in life, right? Always test multiple ways of doing things.
Right. What was one of your lowest points in life in terms of business? I mean, where you keep investing into a business, it's not doing anything, and you're nearly bankrupt, or you just frustrated at something you're so passionate about, but it's not panning out the way that you thought it would.
In business life,
Yeah.
I would say actually one of my newest businesses, Pure Hustle.
Peer hustle.
Yeah, I mean,
the business that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it didn't obviously turn into an Uber, So that was kind of disappointing, right? And I put lots of money into it, right?
Right.
But it's my baby, right?
Right.
I put in like almost over 80 grand into it.
Wow.
But at the same time, I've learned so much into it.
Right.
A lot of stuff, like a lot of cool stuff, right? Lots of new experiences to a point now. I'm actually taking those same experiences I've learned and bringing them into Diary of a Made Man.
Right.
Right. So those definitely.
Now, Pure Hustle is still running, obviously.
Oh
yeah. And this and that.
So I'm out there still hustling it, right?
Right.
But it's a process, right? It's a journey.
Right.
That
Now,
takes time.
can you describe Pure Hustle a little bit more in detail
So
to those
Pure
who are not
Hustle
familiar?
is basically it's a mobile on-demand freelancer marketplace
Okay.
for local freelancers. So think kind of like Uber for local freelancers. So you have more different freelancing marketplace sites like freelancer.com, Upwork, Fiverr, all these are online websites, right, for freelancers. But they're more focused or cater more to global freelancers. Wanted something more for local freelancers, right? Because I worked as a freelancer. I had a video production company.
Right.
Where I worked in a local region in the DC metro area, right? So people like photographers, videographers, stylists, makeup artists, actors, actresses, musicians, right? People who they're freelancers, but they freelance locally, but they're also mobile as well.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of build a platform for them that caters to them. Right, so let's say you want to hire let's say I'm a videographer, right?
Right.
And I want to hire a second shooter to film, to work with me on a project, right? I can't hire somebody full time, right? Because maybe I'm a freelancer as well.
Right.
But I want to hire somebody very quickly, right? Maybe in 2 days or so for this gig I have coming up, right? So that's where you can use Pure Hustle to go on there, to simply type in a skill set like videographer or Photoshop or accounting or whatever, right? Any kind of freelancing skill set, and we'll show you local people in your area who have that skill, and you can hire them and talk to them inside the app. Have built-in
And negotiated terms.
No, I mean no. So on the profile, they already have their price on there,
okay,
right?
got
Their
it.
hourly rate, right? So you go
Okay.
in there, tell them how many hours you want to hire them for, right? Everything's in there, and everything's smooth and easy to work with.
Okay. Now, how did you come up with the Pure Hustle concept? Was it something you were researching, or did you one day say, hey, I always talk to my friends and they're freelancers, they have this issue. I mean, how did this come about?
So working as a videographer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be out there filming, and I wanted to have a second shooter to film with me, or a photographer, or if you wanted to get actresses to work with, or
Right.
actors, right? So having all these people in that industry, right? They're all freelancers,
Right.
but they're all on different platforms, and the platforms aren't really that tech savvy, or right? So I wanted to build something that could cater to everybody, and then have everybody on one platform, right, where you can find them and hire them very quickly.
Okay. All right. You talked earlier a little bit about books and how you love to read. What are some of your favorite books in terms of that really helped your development overall, not just with business, but in life? What kind of books would you recommend are a must read if you have a favorite book? Or
Yeah, I would say my favorite book of all time, one of my favorite books is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. So it's basically a book. This guy is known as the father of the self-help industry.
Right.
Right, like all the self-help stuff you hear now, like this guy founded that industry basically with his book, with that book. Right, he was a doctor that would basically work on patients, but he realized that it wasn't really the external stuff that was the issue, but the internal stuff.
Right.
Right, their self-talk, their communication, their confidence. Right, so this book basically shows you how to reprogram yourself to think positively,
Right.
and to go after your goals and actually achieve them, right? But it's not in a woo-woo, crazy, fluff kind of way. Like it's scientific, right? Like by a doctor scientifically showing you, right, how this can make you change how you talk to yourself, become more confident, and become more successful. So that's definitely one of my favorite books. The other book I would say is Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer.
Okay.
This is a no BS, straight talk book about business. It's about this guy who was a realtor.
Right.
He was out there trying to kind of do things based on how the system wanted him to be a realtor, right?
Right.
And he wasn't really getting any success with it. Then fast forward to about a year later, right? He's like, you know what? I'm tired of working this small house, this small deals as this local real estate agent, right? I want to become a commercial realtor.
Right.
Right? He had no experience, no nothing. goes out there, right? Just have the balls to do it, right? Then like a couple years later, this guy has this big $1 million company doing real estate deals. He has a private jet. Like he's just balling, right?
Right.
And he just didn't ask for permission to do anything. Went out there and he did everything based on these different principles. He kind of came about his rules, right? And in that book, he talks about those rules, those principles, right? Such as reality, taking action, all these different things, right? And he shares them in that book.
Now, you know, as you know, the black community, especially the African American black community, is, you know, you have a lot of people who, I'm gonna keep it real, are looking for handouts and are not motivated. How do you, as a businessman, how do you stay ambitious even when you are dealing with trials and hardships? I mean, can you name a time where it was really hard for you, where you're like, man, I want to give up, but you somehow kept still pushing through it?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, with college school, right?
Yeah.
It came to a point where, because I was on a scholarship, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to keep my scholarship, right? And if I lost the scholarship, then I'd have to drop out.
Right.
Right? And just finding people who can inspire you, right? That's why I'm kind of putting this channel out there, to inspire other people out there who are young, who are still trying to climb that mountaintop.
Right.
I want to inspire them to keep on climbing, right? So with me, people like Eric Thomas, right? E.T. the hip hop preacher, they got me through it, man. Like when I was down and out, like I would just fire up the videos, they'll motivate me, inspire me, right? So people like that would inspire me for greatness. So that's why I want to inspire other people for greatness as well.
In your situation right now, as you know, we're going through a weird time with the economy, you know, having a new president and everything like that. Does that affect your business at all with what's going on politically?
Absolutely not. I mean, the way you have to have a mindset, right? Where regardless of who's in power, in terms of regardless of the politics, the system, whatever, you're still gonna make your money. Like that's the kind of mindset you have, right? Whether it's a Democrat, Republican president, whether it's a communist, right? Like regardless, right? You want to go out there and make your money anyway, right? You want to have your hustles independent of that.
And tell me more about Diary of a Made Man. You said you got a channel up. What type of content can we expect from Diary of a Made Man?
I'm gonna change the game, man. I'm gonna change the game. I'm gonna do it big in a whole different way. I want to inspire people to hustle to greatness, right? So I'm gonna be posting content on multiple platforms. I'll be posting on my blog, long form articles, guides, breaking down the game on how I make money, from Airbnb to Amazon to doing startups to hustling. Right, I'll be doing videos on YouTube, posting videos on Snapchat, Instagram, doing live Q&As on Facebook Live, right? So I'm basically taking people along the ride, right, and showing them how everything is made, right? Showing them the journey, the process, right? They can ask questions along the way, and I'm first and foremost, right, I'm documenting everything.
So basically, it's like a step-by-step manual on how to be successful,
right? Yeah. So
financially speaking,
exactly, right? So for me right now, right, I'm basically past that stage of making six figures, right? I've been doing it for a while. Right. So there are other people out there who haven't reached this stage of six figures, right? So I'm basically creating a manual, a blueprint they can use, right? Then once I make $1 million, I have a blueprint for that, right? Once I make $1 billion, I have one for that too. Okay. Right? So I'm basically giving the game away every single step of the way.
And what are some of the common questions you get from people, besides myself, because I always bug you about different stuff, but what are some, I know you decided, man, I'm writing a book, obviously, because, you know, you've been doing this for a while, where you've even mentored other people, clearly. Right. But what is a common question that you tend to get a lot?
Right, so the first question is, how can I make more money? Right. That's one of the first questions I get a lot. Right. Whether it's people who just finished college, people who have a job but they want to make extra money, right? So the first thing is just getting different side hustles, right? Right. Then you also have to be motivated. You have to be hungry for making money. Right. If you're not hungry for it, then you can't really expect to make money. You can't complain. Right. Then the other question I get is, how do you become motivated, right? How do you get that hunger, that thirst, right? How do you become thirsty for greatness?
Right.
Right? So you just have to have totally different standards. You have to raise the bar, raise your expectations, right? Then you also have to have a plan, not just a plan or a dream, right? But an action plan,
Okay.
right? Emphasize the word action, right? Because you're breaking everything down by action. It's not just, I hope to make 6 figures, right?
Right.
But an action plan would be something like, okay, read 1 book every single week on making money, right? Execute on one idea every other week, right?
Right.
Then you go back for feedback, right? Or maybe go to a mastermind group. All these different things, right? So having different actions tied to each one of your goals, not just having a lofty goal.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much else to say, Ian. You said you have a blog coming out. Where can people reach you in terms of social media wise if they want to get in touch with some of your content or learn
Right.
more how to be self-made, things like that?
Yeah, so you can find me at diaryofamadman.com.
Okay.
All right, you can also find me on social media under that same screen name, Diary of a Made Man. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Snapchat, I'm on Facebook. All right, the same handle, Diary of a Made Man.
Okay. And before we leave here, Ian, because I know you got to get going. He's about to catch a flight to Hawaii. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, especially to black men particularly who, you know, are living in Providence? Because I remember your story, and I wish you would have mentioned this, but you, at one point, you were broke. You didn't even have a car. I mean, you were taking subway,
Right.
and then a year later, you were pushing a Beamer. So
A Benzo.
a Benzo. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I mean,
Right,
how do you
yeah.
get to that point where you're taking a subway train?
I mean, that was
looking
basi-
like, yeah.
That was basically college, man, right? So
Right.
after I finished graduate school, right? So prior to graduate school, right?
Right.
I barely had $2 to rub together to buy a McDonald's, right?
Right.
When I was going to McDonald's, I was getting the Happy Meal, right?
Right.
I was basically on the dollar menu, right? But then once I graduated, right, I realized that process, that journey, why it was so hard, right? Because once I got a job like that,
Right.
my first job was making 85 grand for Deloitte.
Right.
Right? So I went from being a broke college student, right, to once you graduate, like a few months later, right, making good money, right, going out to eat,
Right.
not even having to look at the menu to buy anything.
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is a totally different world, man. I changed my mindset, mindset, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that was basically had to come up. And it was at that point in time I realized why school was so hard for me, right? Because not everybody can enjoy greatness,
Right.
Nietzsche has a saying, right? Everything that's rare is for the rare. Everything that is great is for the great,
Right.
right? That's why it's hard, right? If it was easy, it wouldn't be rare.
Right.
It wouldn't be great.
Right.
It would just be mediocre, right? Commodity. Anybody can have it. All right.
Right. I mean, I'm just.
So it's rare and great and difficult for a reason,
Right.
right? That's why, right? I love that quote, right? Going back to that same quote I mentioned earlier, right? To live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in that suffering, right? So for me, once I graduated and got that first good job, I found meaning in my suffering in college.
Right. And let them know, once again, let the viewers know where they can reach you at, how they can get in contact with you. Diary of a Made Man.
DiaryofAMadeMan.com.
Okay. And then Pure Hustle as well. What is that book being released? I mean, the app is out.
Yeah, so the book's coming out in March.
Okay.
That's the goal, right?
Okay.
The action goal, I should say. Right, so the complete freelancer guide. I'll definitely hook you up with a free copy too.
And I'll be doing a review on Solo
Yeah,
84, best believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, this is business guru Ian, aka Superman. We appreciate you. Will we get you on again here
for
on the
sure,
channel?
man. Just hit me up, man.
Okay, because you're a hard man to reach. I mean, you're in New York, Miami, ATL, Vegas, all in the same week. So, you know, hard man to reach, but he's a good brother doing this thing, and we appreciate the insight. And we out.
All right, man. Appreciate it.